Good evening. Welcome to to Monday night stream. We're here with Stef and Sarah. Where we talk about comic books and music and Sonic the comic even, and wrestling apparently.
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 I was told it was only going to be wrestling.
Oh no,
Okay,
I can talk wrestling.
No, I kid. We can talk about all those things. We're good.
So yeah, if you want to introduce yourselves, you could either. I was thinking if you want to, you could introduce each other.
Ooh.
Oh gosh.
Okay, Sarah Graley, comic cartoonist extraordinaire, the major talent of the operation, draws all the things.
I do draw all
has
the things.
all the good ideas. Takes better photos than me. That's really sad. I can't take good cat photos, but Sarah takes really good ones.
Oh, that's not true. I steal your photos all the time.
Yeah, the brains of the operation.
Oh wow. Okay.
And this is Stef.
This is Stef Purenins. He's a. We write comics together, and you're also a letterer and a color assistant. We did a book called Donut the Destroyer through Scholastic Graphics. It came out last year.
Yes.
And we're currently writing Marvel Action Spider-Man together through IDW, which first issue came out last week.
Yeah, last Wednesday just gone.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah. And then we do a comic together called Our Super Adventure as well, which is like an online diary comic thing.
Yeah.
Original version just over there, just over the shoulder.
Signed by Sarah as well. I got that one from
nice.
Cardiff.
Nice.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
So as you were saying, like I'm just really jealous that you guys are working on Spider-Man at the moment. Been seeing all your stuff. It looks really good. It's just I will have to get the guys from the comic shop to send me a copy.
Yeah,
So
same. I didn't actually know it was out yet. I got my pull in, and then it started popping up everywhere, and I was like, oh, because I'm kind of locked in with what I've got, so new stuff just kind of passes me by. But it will be on my pull.
We got totally surprised by it because I think it was a whole thing where because of like everything that's going on at the moment, there's all kind of like weird delays and stuff, and then we were asking our editor like, oh, do you know when the release date is going to be? Because I think originally it was meant to come out around like February time or something, and then that came and went, and we were like, probably isn't coming out in February now. And then all of a sudden we were just told like about a week ago or something like, oh yeah, it's coming out on 31st, and we were like, that's now. What?
It's the past year. It's like been kind of it's been a weird year, so it's totally understandable.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
It's the one thing you can't bank on anymore is time being relative.
Yeah,
It being relative, it is relative. It's just relative.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things at the moment where you we were talking about something yesterday, and it was like, yeah, that happened last year, and it was like, no, last year nothing happened. But so how did you guys get into comics?
That starts with you, really.
Wait, as a reader or as a person who makes comics?
We'll start with the reading side of it. So, like in comics in general.
I remember having copies of the Beano before I could read, so that was really wild. Because like, there was one copy of the Beano I remember having, and like at the point in time that I didn't know what words were, and then I remember like picking it up like years later and being like, oh, I can read this now. But, it was the Beano, and then Sonic the Comic was a huge one for me, and
yeah, same hat. Like, like my parents had like the Beano annuals and stuff, and like the Dandy as well. So we had like those laying around a lot. And then I remember like I got a Sega Saturn when I was like 7 and playing like Sonic Jam and being like Sonic's the best. And then seeing Sonic the Comic like in my local newsagents and being like, I have to have that. And my mum was like, you're not going to read it. And I was like, I am going to read it. I have to have it.
Oh, do you want my embarrassing Sonic the Comic story?
Yes.
So
I've got
Sonic
a pen and
Comic...
paper as well. So.
Okay. Sonic the Comic it always used to come out on a Tuesday at the newsagents that was like in between my primary school and my home. And I think one day it was like a Monday, and like in the previous Sonic the Comic, it was like next time it's Sonic the Human, and it was a whole like story of when Sonic was going to be like a human boy or something. And I was like, what? That's crazy. How does that even work? And they had that issue a day early. And I think my dad was walking me and my sister home from school, and like we went into the newsagents. I saw the copy of the comic, and I was like, "Oh my god, they got it a day early!" I was like, "Dad, can we get this?" And my dad was like, "No, we always get that on a Tuesday." And I was like, "No, but it's the new one." And I cried the rest of the way home because my dad wouldn't get me. And then the next day he got it me, and it was like great, and it was a really cool story. But like at the time, I remember just full on being like despair over not being able to read this issue on the day I saw it. So yeah, if I ever see a comic come out a day early, I'm like on it.
So that seems to be a recurring comic.
There's a cult.
There's
a cult of you guys.
Yeah,
we watched Rachel Smith's interview with you guys from last week, and we were like, same thing.
Yeah. And we've seen a lot in the chat, people saying hello, and
Kelly,
your
you can get your
emotes as
hands
well.
on it in the comic shop.
Yeah, your emotes popping up in our chat as well. So
Awesome.
that's pretty cool.
Oh, we should
so
nip
good
on the channel.
evening, everyone. Yeah, so how did that translate then into creating comics?
I feel like from there, like, I mean, I always loved drawing and stuff, and like, I guess there was like a bit of a gap between like Sonic the comic, and then I got back into comics when I was like 17, so kind of like a 10-year gap, I suppose. But I was kind of like reading webcomics and stuff, and like posting art online. Like, I had my Sonic phase, and it's still ongoing, obviously, because I love Sonic. But then it was Pokemon, and I would draw like a million Pokemon and make up my own Pokemon. That was Neopets. And then I just like was always posting online and being like part of online communities. So then I got like into webcomics, and I think from there, like I discovered like Liz Prince, who is delightful. I really love their work, and kind of just realizing that comics aren't like. I think I got the idea in my head that comics were like superhero comics exclusively, and it's like no, comics are like really diverse and varied and stuff. So you're looking at it so intensely.
No, I'm not looking.
You're just so interested.
I was just like being casually interested. I guess I'll look up into. I'll look at.
Are we discovering that you don't know a lot about each other?
I'm just interested in the answer.
Oh, thank you. That's sweet. But yeah, no, like. I forgot what the question was.
How did it go into you making comics?
Oh yeah, because just like I kind of got back into like comics as a medium like around my late teens. Mm-hmm. So and just like doing webcomics and stuff like that. Like yeah, and then it was really fun and people enjoyed them, which was great as well. That was really nice. So yeah, I guess I got back into comics through webcomics and making webcomics. Yeah.
Nice and smooth.
Thank you.
Or Daggers is saying in the chat that they're addicted to web comics on the phone. So
yeah.
And you see your stuff daily popping up, which is great because it's always fun whether you see it on Facebook or Instagram.
It's genuinely not just a hollow compliment. Genuinely like it when it pops up on my Facebook. It genuinely brightens up the day when I see something.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I kind of prefer seeing it on Instagram because it feels like a comic book, even though it's only 4 panels. Because I get to turn the page, and they're always fun or cute, and they're just a fun read. And like,
thank you.
Nice little snapshot into your life with your cats most of the time.
Yeah.
It's all like online diary of venting about them, really, I guess. In a nice way. Did I say venting? I meant complimenting them. It's our way of complimenting the cats. Paying tribute. I'll pay tribute to these beautiful babies.
I just wanted to talk about like our cats all the time, and I was like, I feel like if I do comics about them, that's like the more interesting way of being like, look at our cat Pickle. Oh, he's so great.
Yeah, it's a way of stealth. Like instead of being those people who are like, "Oh, look at pictures of our cats," it's like, "Hey, read this.
Look at pictures of our cats.
Read this comic about our cats instead."
Cool. Steph, how about yourself then? How did you get into the biz?
I was like I've kind of always had like kind of a passing interest in comics. I feel like when I was at university, I kind of got back into comics through stuff like Watchmen and like catching up on a lot of Spider-Man because oh my gosh, there's a lot of Spider-Man, and like all of like, I feel like I fell into like a bit of a Batman hole at one point, and they're all of like like the Batman books that you must read, like the Long Halloween and Hush and all that kind of stuff.
I'm still in that hole.
It's a tricky hole to get out of. But then yeah, like when I finished university, I kind of ended up I started dating Sarah, which was definitely a big thing in terms of getting into comics in a big way. And then I started working as like a high school librarian as well. And when I was working as a high school librarian, like the library that I was working in had like one comic when I started there, and it was The Killing Joke, the Batman one, which not a book that you should have in a high school library. It is not appropriate for many of that age group. But I was like, oh, I really want to get some comics in here, so I started getting them like stuff like Scott Pilgrim and Persepolis and like a bunch of like the new sort of superhero stuff that was coming out. It was around when Miles Morales was starting to get collected into trade paperback, so I got a bunch of those. And like, I obviously like had to sort of check for my job to make sure these books were appropriate, so I had to read them myself first. So it meant I got to bring a lot of comics home and read them and be like, oh, these are really good. Like I think I remember reading like the first trade paperback of Miss Marvel as well around that time, and that blew me away. I was like, this is great. This is like, it kind of gave me the same feeling that Spider-Man comics does. It's like someone goofy to root for, that kind of thing. But, yeah, and then I was kind of like helping you out with your stuff on the side. Like every so often I'd like help color some, but like some of the Super Adventure book that you have behind you on the shelf, like I kind of helped color a few of those comics over like when I had some time off over the summer. And then at some point I started doing lettering stuff for you, and then
like
a bit more coloring, and then a bit more like convention stuff, and then it kind of just grew from there, I guess.
I feel like you work in your job as a librarian, but you were helping me out like a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like when I was writing like Kim Reaper and stuff, or like Rick and Morty, I'd be like, can you look over my, like you would go through like my scripts and do like a first pass, and you like really help me out. Oh, yeah. And then I like send them to my editor, and they'd be like, oh, this is great, and I'm like, oh, I know, because we've already gone over. So you were helping me with that, and then like running our online store, and also help coloring comics, and it was kind of getting like to a really wild point. You worked so much with me, but then you were also like, now I'm going to the library. Oh, yeah. So I feel like, and then it got to a point where we were able to just like start working together and do comics together, which was great, because I think you would have turned to dust. Well, I don't know how you did it.
There was a whole thing with my job where I wasn't allowed to get time off anywhere outside of term time, but we wanted to go to San Diego Comic-Con for the first time, and I managed to get my school to like give me like, I think it was like a day either side of a weekend off that I needed to sort of like accommodate for flights and stuff. And then I managed to get the work to agree to that, and then they were like, this is like a one-time only thing, and we were like, well, if we want to do these things more in the future. But then we've been like really, we worked really hard for like a few solid years, and we were lucky enough to like be in a position where we could start working together like full time, and kind of been non-stop since. We're very bad at taking breaks.
So like
understandable.
Yeah, because like obviously we've done the convention circuit, and that whole taking the Friday and the Monday off, like especially when we're traveling from like South Wales, and I've done like shows in Belfast and Glasgow, and you think I could take a Monday and a Friday and a Monday off, I'd be fine on Tuesday, and then you're going back into work on Tuesday half dead, and especially if you've got a con lurgy.
We used to we started doing like Glasgow Comic-Con, like the MCM Glasgow show, when they started doing that, and like we would drive up on Saturday morning at like 3 a.m. setting off from Birmingham at 3 a.m. and then we'd set back off from like Glasgow at like sort of 5 or 6 when the show finished, and we'd get back about like 2 in the mornings, like Monday, like 2 in the morning, like between Sunday and Monday, and then I'd have work on that Monday because like my work would never give me those days off normally, and like I would get home from work and I would just be like, just a zombie. I would just like flop onto the sofa and then just fall asleep, and that was it. Like, it's intense.
I can't imagine doing that like now. We're older now. I can't.
A few years ago, the first Thought Bubble I did, we got a cancellation table, and so like there was no hotels left.
Yeah.
Managed to get one night in a hotel, so it meant driving up on, well, we left at about 3 o'clock in the morning. I was picking my friend up who would come in with me to help at 3 o'clock. So that meant I was leaving my house at like 2:30. So to pick him up, to drive up, we got there just in time to park, set our table up, and then done the show, went back to the hotel, went to all the in nighttime things, ended up having a few drinks with Andrew McLean from Headlopper.
Yeah.
So we couldn't like go, oh, we're really tired, we gotta go. So like we were sat there drinking with Andrew, and then next day woke up, done the con, packed the car and drove straight back. That was, I think that was the last time I've managed to do it in that short a span. Cause
yeah.
So like I feel your pain.
Yeah, that is intense.
Probably one of the scariest ones we did was it was just Wrexham. We were in Wrexham, and it was, I think, 5 of us had gone up there as the comics collective at the time, and it was like sideways rain. It was torrential, and I don't know if you have driven through the middle of Wales, but there's towns at the top, and there's towns and cities at the bottom, nothing in between.
Yeah.
And it was just blankets of rain coming down. It was terrifying, and I don't like riding in cars. Yeah. And I'm just wide awake, even though it's like getting to about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And we get home afterwards, we're wondering why all the roads were clear. It's because there was a weather warning saying don't travel through Mid Wales.
Oh no!
So that was terrifying. It was terrifying afterwards.
So, yeah, that sounds intense.
So you started when did you start doing cons and stuff? Because I'm trying to remember when I first started seeing you out and about. But when was it?
I think I did the first area convention I did was Thought Bubble, and I was sharing a table with a friend. And like I'd never been to Thought Bubble before, and it was kind of like, I think that was like one of the moments where I was like, oh, this rules, I want to be part of this. Like I don't need to do this again. Yeah, it was so good. I think Stef's looking up the actual date.
I don't remember. It was so long ago.
It was so long ago. But yeah, and then we came back the following year, and I think we did like every Thought Bubble. Maybe we missed like one Thought Bubble since.
I think we missed the Thought Bubble when we moved to Birmingham. But when we first moved in together in Birmingham, we were like, they had MCM Birmingham on the same weekend, and we were like, well, that show's like right outside of our window. And then it was like one of our worst shows that we've ever done. We were behind there was like a what's it's like the yellow Camaro from the Transformers films. And they had one of those like just in front of us, and that was like our entire weekend was just watching people get photos taken in front of this Bumblebee car. And I think afterwards we went onto Tumblr and searched like the MCM Birmingham tag, and then in the background of every one of these photos of the Camaro, you could just see us in the background, just like a sad blurry, like just like. And it was a really weird show, and then we were like, we could have done Thought Bubble instead. What were we thinking? Like it was weird, but MCM Birmingham has always been good to us since then.
It's been wonderful since, but that was one.
It was just one weird show.
But yeah, no, shoot. When was the first Thought Bubble?
2012.
2012. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So
which is wild.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Got a couple bunch of people in the chat saying how exhausting cons are as well.
Oh yeah. Exhausting. Definitely.
Can't wait to do them again.
I know. I can't believe how much I missed them.
That was a genuine. I can't wait.
I know. Even though you think, oh, it's tiring and all of that, I do miss them. I like.
Yeah.
So, have you got anything planned? Are you in for Thought Bubble this year, or are you gonna wait?
We signed up for Thought Bubble, and like obviously with the provision of like needles going in arms and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So as long as it's like actually safe to do it, we're excited for it. But we're very tentative still because like we haven't had our like vaccination, like our call for it yet, and I'm antsy. I want to be vaccinated.
I'm so ready.
I want to
give me that juice.
we honestly like. I think most of our socializing like in real life is done at conventions pretty much. Like we spend most of the time like working on comics, and then conventions come about, and we're like, oh, this is like an intense 2 days where we're gonna get to see and talk to a load of people and catch up with people who we haven't seen for ages. And then obviously last year happened, and we're like, oh no, all of
it's
our in real life socializing.
it's we usually
No.
leave our comics hole, hang out, and then go back into the comics hole, and it's great.
Yeah.
But this year it's just been the comics hole, and I'm just like, I want to go out.
We found streaming was a really fun like alternative to that, because I think it got like a couple of years past like I wanted to call it hibernation then. What, like lockdown and all that stuff. We got a couple of months into hibernation or whatever.
That's a
And we were
positive term for it.
I guess so. We were like, we want to do something to connect with people and to talk to people again. So we were like, if we start streaming, like, it means we've got we can have more of a back and forth rather than just like putting comics out into the world and being like,
be free.
Here's a comic.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, hey, we're playing video games. Hey, how's it going? How's it hanging? And
Yeah,
etc.
it's been
etc.
really nice.
Yeah, so that was like the one good thing to come out of 2020 was we started doing a lot of streaming and stuff. But I'm very excited for in real life things to happen again.
Yeah, it's gonna
when
roll.
they're safe.
When they're safe.
So
We a bunch of people are saying that. I mean, they're prioritizing things
Oh yeah.
like Thought Bubble. So
Yeah.
But,
I see a lot of people
Nice.
there.
I can understand where you came from with that, like the streaming side of it. So
Oh yeah.
for us, we did a virtual con instead of the real one last year, but we done that
Yeah.
by the the skin of our teeth. We just
Yeah.
try like nothing
No string
went right.
budgets,
Yeah, no budget.
guessing work.
Didn't know the technology at all. We had an interview where we couldn't hear the guest, and then the people so like me and Adam were hosting, and we me and Adam would try to interview someone when we can't hear their answers, but then
Oh no.
the sound on the stream was just going echoing. So like, yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And we thought, yeah, that's it. That's that in the bin. And then we started planning for this year, because we sent you an
Yeah.
email when we thought that we might be running.
Yeah.
We kind of knew we weren't. It was going to be difficult. We set up plans for 2 meters social distancing, 1 meter social distancing, and no social distancing. And
Yeah.
we thought likelihood would be 2 meter social distancing. So we were tentatively starting to plan, and then it sort of became apparent before they actually told us no. They kind of went that, yeah, I don't know, so maybe we should learn how to use this stuff properly this time. And it started with me doing 1 stream a week. And then we 4 months later, we're doing like 4 or 5 streams a week. Just to learn it, so that when we go into, this would be a good time to say, this year we're doing a 24-hour virtual convention
Ooh.
That's
on May
fun.
the 1st and 2nd to try and raise money for our chosen charity. Because every year we're a charity convention where 50% goes to charity, 50% of the ticket sales goes to charity, but we haven't been able to do that. So this year we're going to do a 24-hour stream. So look out on our stuff that
Possibly die.
yeah. So,
No
joking.
breaks. No breaks.
No breaks.
so yeah, so we've had to learn it, and doing the stream has given me purpose. I again, it's made me go from feeling lethargic all the time, not being bothered to do something, to giving me a schedule, and I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So I can understand how you've enjoyed it. And I gotta say, I watched your Link's Awakening the other day, and I really enjoyed it. Apart from like, get the boomerang.
Yeah. No, the thing you just said about giving you a schedule again, like that's kind of what it did for us. Because I think when everything was kind of happening, we were like, we had things that we were working on, but we were kind of just like, our schedule went to pieces. We were staying up till like 3-4 in the morning because we just were like, I don't know, like we didn't really have events.
Point going to
We
bed.
didn't have events to plan for. And I think events are what kind of always puts us back onto an even keel, because we know we have to be up at like early in the morning, and then that kind of resets us for a few weeks or whatever. But when we started doing the stream, we were like, if we start doing a stream, we're gonna be like, right, we're gonna stream every Monday at like midday. We're gonna have that set in place, set in stone, and then it kind of got us back into like some kind of schedule, some kind of sense of normality. Like we had to kind of create our own normal again, I guess. But yeah, no, like I haven't heard anyone say that same thing. It just kind of like clicked in my head. Then that was, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm actually a bit of a hermit, so I kind of enjoy the quiet. I enjoy the the avoiding people, but I do get why people you do need order, I guess. So, got quite a few questions coming in at the moment. We'll get to those in a moment. I was going to actually ask you, saying about processes and about schedules and stuff. How do you put something like Super Adventure together? Then, I mean, from start to finish, how do you plot it and produce it?
Something will happen, and I'll be like, yes, that'll be. I can picture it in 4 panels. That's a good moment. Something like makes me laugh like a lot, or like sometimes you're like, you should do a comic about that thing that happened.
Sometimes I'll come running into Sarah and I'll be like, hey, this fun thing just happened, and like this is how it would work in 4 panels. It'd be like this, then this, then this, then this, and then Sarah will be like, not sure, and then I'll be like, it will be good, I promise, and then eventually that happens. Most of the time it's Sarah though. So yeah.
But and then like I'll write it down. Like I'll just do a quick draft. If I don't draft it, it's like gone. Like there are times like at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, that'd be a really good comic. It's so good. I'll remember it when I wake up. And it's gone forever.
We've got a running joke in our Twitch chat because I keep talking about one time I wrote a note down on my notes thing on my phone, and it was just the note. Like sometimes I'll write notes and I'll be quite detailed, like a comic about blah 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 blah. But all I'd written down was Stef Water comic. And I still technically have not remembered it. I've come up with like what it might have been. It might have been to do with like Wilson, one of our cats, drinking out of my water glass in a few different rooms.
Just as you
but
said,
I'm not sure if that's it. I'm not sure.
Mrs. Linger has just said, "Ask Stef about water comic."
One day it's gonna like I'll wake up and it'll just click and I'll be like,
of course, Stef water comic.
I text Adam. That's what I do. Yeah. If I come up with an idea, because we write together, so if I come up with an idea and like, I've written a 4-panel script before, whilst I was walking to work, because it was like, need to do this quickly, and just send him a 4-panel script, and it's like, it's there, and once I've written it out, it stays there, even though we never go back to it. Even though we never go back to the text, it's like, it's there now. Where if I'd gone, I'll wait till later, it'd be gone, and there's the idea gone.
Buying new notebooks, the moment that more than 2 or 3 pages are used, I buy a new one of different sizes. They'll flip like journalist notebooks as well, and they're filled with crap mostly. But they're always ideas and words and things like that. But I always remember what they mean.
Nice. That's where I'm falling down. I think I'm being like clever with my shorthand, and I've just defeated myself.
It's like that's like the first key thing is like getting it down in a 4-panel format. The second one, which I've only been doing for like maybe the past couple of years, is like I will take a pic, because I do it on scraps, like just random scraps of paper, like any paper I find. I'm like, okay, that's the comic written down. And then I'll take a photo of it on my phone, because like I will lose the scrap of paper.
Oh yeah, no, that has happened before.
It's like, and then when we're finally ready to draw a comic, like I'll just like get a backlog of 4-panel like stick drawings, and then I'll just go for my phone and I'll be like, this is the comic today. This is the one I want to do. So I'll draw it up and stuff, and then I'll send it to you. And you'll like put down the base colors, and then you'll send it back and I'll color it, and then I'll send it back to you and you letter it. It's great.
We managed to figure out how to like have like a kind of a shared folder between our computers, so it's like I'll like Sarah will be like, oh, this comic's ready to be sort of like colored now, and I'll be like, right, plunk down some basic colors, and I'll be like, right, I've done that, and then it goes back. And we started doing some comic drawing on stream as well now, which is kind of fun. So like the inking and pencil side of it, Sarah will do like kind of like live, and then yeah, I mean, I think typically we kind of like work. Sometimes we'll get like a little bit of a backlog of comics going, but I think at the moment we're kind of like every week we'll do a comic and we'll kind of just fit it in around whatever else we're kind of doing.
It feels so good when we have like a bunch of done comics.
Hasn't happened for a while. By the skin of our teeth.
Have there ever been any ones that you've come up with and you've gone, no, that won't work, or it's gone too close, it's too.
There are comics that like I've done in the past, and I'm like, I don't like I think it's a really good idea, and then I'll draw it, and I'm like, oh, I don't really like this one anymore. But like I feel like, but then we posted them, and like they've done like really well, and I've been like, oh, okay, like yay.
There's definitely been some that have fallen by the wayside at some point, but I don't remember what they were. I feel like last time we were putting together, we put like a 3rd collection together last year, and I feel like when we were doing that, we had some draft. I think there was like 1 or 2 drafts that we ended up doing different comics because we ended up saving over those files or something.
Yeah,
Oh, no, I mean, we
maybe.
like we moved those files into a special different folder, but then we used the numbers again or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, every so often there are some, but now I can't remember what they are because I feel like we banished them to a certain folder that's meant for banished comics, and that's also banished them from my brain. So yeah, I don't know.
Why do we just banish them because they're not that strong? Or...
I think it's just because we look at them and we're like, well, that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like that's a little bit too gross.
This
is just a comic about cats puking. No.
the banished comics, like, I feel like we've only like banished like one drawn one.
Oh yeah.
But like usually when we do the comics, it's usually like the scrap versions where we're like, oh, actually, we don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
We did have one thing actually. With the blue book that's behind you on the shelf, we always marketed it as contains 200 comics, and it wasn't until we put out a second edition of the book that we found out there's technically only 199 because one of the comics is 2 pages. And it wasn't until we were putting together this book again that we were like, wait, there was one comic that never got in there. So there's like a comic about, it was only like a really simple 2-panel one as well about Toby being a really beautiful cat. But for years it wasn't out anywhere. It wasn't online, it wasn't in print. So there are technically only, I'm so sorry, there's only 199 comics in that book.
There's bonus content though, so you know.
Oh, that's true. You can count the bonus content, but next time we do Swansea, we'll print out the 200.
Stick it in there.
Print out the comic number 200 for you. So
I do actually like the progress as well. You've gone back to all the comics.
Thank you.
It's really cool.
It's so weird. I feel like we never really like the kind of stuff we're doing in comics now. Kind of like blows us away a little bit because we kind of went into comics just being very much like DIY. I guess like we never really sought out a publisher or anything. We were just always like, yeah, we're gonna like get books printed. Like we're always like figuring out like, okay, if we can get books printed here, like this is how much it'll cost. Like we'll store them all in our studio or a spare room, and it'll take up like all the space.
All the room,
but, like, it'll be fine.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, it's like it's weird. I don't know. I feel very grateful for everything we've been working on, but it's like I don't know how it happened. But yeah, no, it's always. It's very weird. It's all very weird.
Yeah, I'm really glad that people enjoy what we do. I think that's really nice and cool.
I remember seeing a video on YouTube of a panel from a convention where Sarah is drawing what Dan Harmon says, and it was like, hang on, I know her.
That was wild. I remember getting that email to do that and just being like, what? So yeah, no, I was very terrified going into that.
Yeah,
but it was fun. It was good.
That whole event was really surreal because I was kind of like there in like a little area with like I guess like all of like the spouses and partners section, I guess. And I was standing next to Spencer Crittenden, who's on Dan Harmon's Harmontown podcast back from when that was going. And so like I was already like a big fan of that. So I was kind of like at the same time as being like, oh my god, Sarah was like drawing stuff on a big stage and everyone's like giggling and stuff. I was like, I'm also standing next to like people I've listened to on a podcast for like years. Like what is happening? It's wild.
Yeah, like I think before that happened as well, like we were waiting around for the event to happen. There was Kamel Nanjiani and Emily Gordon,
yeah,
B Gordon, and because we're really a big fan of the Indoor Kids podcast,
yeah.
So we like went up to them. We were like, "Oh, we love your podcast," and stuff. And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go draw now." But it was, it was a really wild event, and I was definitely like, "I'm just a comics baby."
Oh, that was the event I had to beg my work to give me the time off for.
Oh. Yeah.
So I was like, "There's no way I can miss this one." Like,
yeah. I think that was like our first San Diego Comic Con. It was really, it was something. It was really fun.
It was very big. It was very cool.
You should have played your work, the video afterwards, and just gone.
Yeah, I should have been like that.
You know, all the kids are going on about Pickle Rick.
I had to actually be really coy about that because when our Super Adventure was starting to take off online, like I never really like let the kids know about it as a thing because I was like they can't really know about the comic where the school librarian is like in his pants and the girl going booty booty booty, that kind of stuff. Like so yeah, like I managed to keep all the comic stuff a secret. I did like when I left, I got some copies of Sarah's Rick and Morty book and Pizza Witch books and like sort of gifted them to the library as I was leaving it. But like, I was really good at keeping it a secret, and my last name's really weird, so none of the kids could spell it. So I think they would, if they ever sort of said, "Oh, I tried to find stuff about you online," they could never do it because they couldn't spell my name. I was like, the secret ingredient of having a secret identity. Peter Parker should have just had a really difficult last name. Sorted.
So
that guy.
When what was the first step from being like DIY and indie into doing stuff like drawing what Dan Harmon says?
I feel like I was doing our Super Adventure, early days, our Super Adventure, and I knew that I wanted to do. I was like, I want to do 200 comic collection. I wanted to be in color and hardback and have gold. Well, you suggested gold foiling.
Oh yeah, you were all like, I want to do a big 200 comic collection, and then I was like, let's make it hardback and gold foiling and fancy.
And I was like, I want to do this, but I know I can't afford to like self-publish it myself. It's too fancy, and I have no money. So I was like, I put together the book, and I was like, I'm gonna go to Kickstarter, and it was really awesome, and it got so much support and stuff. And I was like, oh, and we're posting like loads of comics during that time as well. I think just to be like, please. Oh, I have a Kickstarter. Here's a new comic. I have a Kickstarter. Here's another comic. And I think it just kind of like it gained some steam, and like I got the attention of a few folks. Like so then like I think pretty far into the Kickstarter campaign, Ari Yarwood like sent me an email being like, "Hello, I'm Ari from Oni Press. Would you like to pitch some comics?" And I was like, "I love your Rick and Morty series." And she was like, "Well, we want to do a spin-off. Would you like to pitch that?" And I was like, yes, I would. And then around the same time, our agent, Stephen, well, our agent now, but Stephen Salpeter got in touch and was like, do you want an agent? And I was like, yes, please. So, yeah, it was just from doing like webcomics and sharing my work online and stuff, and just it hit the right people.
Oh, I was going to say Pizza Witch was really big for that, because
yeah.
that was out like just before the Kickstarter. So that was kind of like an example of like Sarah doing like storytelling work, I guess, because I think without that you wouldn't have got offered the Rick and Morty thing, I think.
Yeah, because like our Super Adventure is like a 4-panel comic, whereas like Pizza Witch is like this self-contained like 22-page sequential comic, and it's like, here's what 22 pages, the length of a comic issue looks like when I write it. So
was that on purpose, doing the 22 pages?
I just wanted to do a short story. But yeah, because I'd done some other stuff as well. I don't really want to name it though because it's so old. But I done like other sequential comics. But I feel like our Super Adventure and Pizza Witch was kind of where I found my footing a bit more. And people were like, "Oh, hello, we're gonna hire you to do comics."
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. That's really, because like the Rick and Morty thing was originally meant to be like one issue, but then it turned into like
or
something.
I think I was only supposed to be writing it, but I had done a really over the top like sample where I had like drawn like the characters and stuff on the cover for the pitch, and so Ari was like, "Do you want to also draw it?" And I was like, "Oh god, yes, I do." So that was really, really cool. Yeah. And then I just didn't stop doing comics.
Yeah. Then I think after Rick and Morty, Only Press wanted you to pitch something to them, and then that's where Kim Reaper came from.
Yeah.
And then Glitch came from our agent Stephen.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. The agent thing like lasted for like he was kind of like more to do with like literary sort of like companies and stuff. So for ages, like Sarah was like working this pitch for Glitch with him, and then it ended up being like a five house auction or something. So there were like 5 publishing houses who were all auctioning for this book, and we were just like at our tiny little house in Birmingham being like, what is happening? Like, this is unfathomable.
It was amazing. Yeah, I was just I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, wow.
It was really wild. It was very exciting.
Yeah.
Scholastic picked it up as well. I mean, that's a name you can get behind as well.
Yeah, that was a huge thing that I noticed from my time working in the school library, was like all of like the Raina Telgemeier books and the Amulet series, they were like all like just so massive, and they were like kids who were like, they would see these books and they were like, oh my god, I need to read that. There was like this one kid who would come in like every single week and he'd be like, do you know when the next Amulet book is coming out? And I was like, I have no idea. I'm sorry. And then one time I just remember it was like break time. And I was googling it for him, and I found some interview with Kazu Kibuishi, and he was like, the interview was like, "Don't expect another Amulet book for like 2 or 3 years." And I was like telling this kid, he was like, "No, I thought it was gonna come out this year." I was like, "I'm so sorry." But yeah, I was like, I can understand that feeling though. Like when you really get into like a book series, it's like you want to know when the next one's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what books are you guys reading at the moment then?
I coming. I got the last 2 trade paperbacks of Giant Days for my birthday a couple of weeks back, and I haven't read those yet. But I'm kind of like, Giant Days has been one of those series that I've been reading for like quite a few years now, so I'm kind of a little bit like I don't want it to end. Like I feel like I got into it too late, so I never got into it like single issues, but I've just been reading the trades as they came out, and I'm like, I've only got 2 of them left now, and I'm like, they're just sitting on the table downstairs, and I'm just keep looking at them, and I'm like, I'm not sure I want. I don't know if
You
I
don't
want to get
read
to the
them,
end
it
of that.
never ends.
Kind of, yeah, because that's like I was talking to you about this the other day. Like I can't think of another comic series like Giant Days that started in recent times that's lasted as long as Giant Days has lasted for. Like it's rare that you get a kind of a weird kind of coming of age UK university comic for a US publisher that lasts for like 14 volumes and spin-offs and stuff, and it's wild. It's like it's a treat. It's a treasure. Like John Arson makes good stuff. He's been going for like, so I remember reading his webcomics when I was like at university and stuff. So weird. It's awesome.
Cool to follow somebody through their journey, though.
What about you?
My to read pile's terrible. As in, I have so many comics to read, but then that means I have so many options, so that's great.
Yeah.
I started reading Snapdragon by Kate Leigh. Is that how you pronounce her name?
I think so.
But I'm only a little bit in, but it's really good so far, so I should finish that off. I can't remember the name of the other comic that I really enjoyed. It's I think it's Beetle and the Hollow Bones.
Oh yeah.
That's really, really good too. Both spooky comics, of course. I like a good spooky YA. Yeah. And then hopefully 50 million other comics that I need to get around to reading.
Yeah, we were like rearranging our bookshelves the other day, and I was like, we've picked up so many books that like we got this curse that every time we would go to a convention, we would pick up books and stuff. And then there was the whole thing of when the pandemic started that like we wanted to sort of still support comic shops, so we were buying like a bunch of stuff online from them. And then like stuff kind of just piles up and piles up and piles up, and then we're like looking at our shelves, and I'm like, I've started losing track of what. Yeah, I've started losing track of what I have in my head.
All of that up there, and some of this above there, and some of this, it's all just making sure my comic shop keeps going. So
nice.
Yeah,
I think
it's important. Like I don't want comic shops to disappear, especially because of this like horrible last year. Like I think comic shops are incredible. Like I want more of them. I love them.
I paid my bill to our local comic shop the other day, and it was Wednesday payday, and then I knew that he'd be posting them out, but it was Easter Friday, Monday, and Sunday as well. So I know I've been looking at the door, and I know it's not turning up yet. It'll probably turn up tomorrow, and I know it'll be at least 2 parcels of stuff, and I'm just like.
I do really love getting comics in the post. There's something really good about that.
Yeah, it's right.
It's like the best post to get is comic posts.
I had my bundle through the other day, and it was thicker than I was expecting because in that brief period when shops were open last year, I said, can you order me the last 2 volumes of Chew hardback? And then I forgot about it, and like 6 months later, volume 5 of Chew just showed up, so I got to reread through volumes 1 to 4 before I read number 5. So
you got to chew through them.
But yeah, and I get what you mean with about not wanting to read them, because I put off reading the last volume of Saga. Like it hasn't finished for ages, and during lockdown I thought, you know what, I'm gonna read it, and it'd already been out for about a year at that point, and it finishes on a cliffhanger, and now I've been and now it's been like about 8 months since I read, and it's like devastating. I don't know how the people who read it in floppy format are coping with being like 2 years out.
Yeah. I still haven't gotten fully up to date with Saga, and I'm kind of scared too because of that reason. So I've got like the big I've got the first big compendium downstairs that I think I've read most of it before. I got to around sort of like volume 3 or 4 when I was first reading it, but it's like it's one of those series I'm worried to get that into it because I don't want to like be in the position of like not knowing when the next one is coming. Like I want to say that I saw something about it that it was in the works at the moment, but I don't know.
I know, and I would say at least leave off the last volume because it's quite try to avoid spoilers, but it's a cliffhanger. Makes me want to read it
more. This makes me want to read it more.
I know.
Most of the books I read are kind of heavy like that, so I'm reading. I know it's already finished. I'm reading it in trade. Low by Remender and Tocchini, and also what else? What I was thinking of. Oh, Monstrous as well by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda, and every issue. I mean, I'm reading them in trades, but every issue is heavy, and every issue is it's kind of pregnant. It's pregnant with scary possibilities of what's going to happen, just killing somebody off like that. And I'm reading them in trade, and I'm up to the 4th volume, and it's getting really serious. And I haven't read it for a while, and like, kind of picking it back up, and it's going to be terrible. Right now, it's okay,
Terrible in a good way.
Yeah.
But so obviously, and I think this was one of the questions, or touches on one of the questions that came through earlier. Obviously from like your work you could see the influence of video games in there, so what are your favourite video games?
Do you want to go first, or
I'll start off with
but that's like asking your favourite child, like if you want to think of a specific genre.
I really love Final Fantasy 8 and 9. Those are 2 that I really love from my childhood. They kind of were ones that I kind of kept going back to because I never managed to finish them when I first played them because I was like just not good enough at them.
I spammed 9. I love 9.
Yes,
it's wonderful.
9 was so good.
My brother was 6 or 7 at the time, and he was watching those. They obviously went back to little chibi little characters, and it just caught something in him as well. So 9's fantastic.
9's amazing because like 8 was kind of this weird kind of spacey kind of like emo teens at like a soldier academy thing, and then 9 was like full on just fantasy stuff and like a guy in the monkey town, big like mage with a hat, and it was just really like out there. And like I remember just like I got into it in like such a big way, and then I got all the way to the very final boss when I was first playing it, and I just could not do it. And I don't know what it was, but it was just such a leap in difficulty when you get that very final boss. And I didn't touch it again for about 4 or 5 years, and then I went back to it, started from scratch, did all the way through, and finally beat that guy. And I was
the best way to beat the game is is get to the final boss as soon as you can, because all the enemies level with you.
See, I never knew that back in the day. Did not know that at all. But yeah, those games have a special place in my heart.
I watched Becky playing that one when you said about the monkey tail. It was like, oh, that's the one I watched her play, and she was having to do like try and stealing things constantly. So like, why didn't you kill
that?
Why didn't you kill it? Oh, I gotta steal it's got like a 5% chance of dropping this thing, and she's like doing it over and over and over, and she got like a monkey guy who I was calling Goku, and then the mage guy that you mentioned I was calling Orko, but she was like, I don't know that reference, and it's like, shut up. So yeah, but I haven't played Final Fantasy.
You're missing out, man.
Final Fantasy and PlayStation Plus just give it away.
I've started playing it.
The remake of Final Fantasy VII, so I'm thinking about streaming that as my first ever Final Fantasy.
Yes. It's nice. It's very shiny. Like that was the one I never played like years ago, so I've just kind of been like getting into it from the get go, and it's
7 was my my gateway into RPGs, JRPGs actually. I do like it. How about yourself, Sarah?
You've had enough time to think.
Oh, wow. I mean, in regards to like influence and stuff, like I love Sonic Jam was huge for me as a kid, and like I like Pokemon, and I love the Spyro.
Wait, was Sonic Jam the one that was like the collection of all the old ones?
I'm gonna say Sonic Jam because
that's
like
fine.
Sonic 1, 2, Sonic and Knuckles.
That's like Sarah's like way of being like all of the early Sonic games, all of the Mega Drive games wrapped up in one Sega Saturn compendium.
It's one game.
That's cheating. I think that's cheating.
That and like I really enjoyed like Spyro growing up, and like the remasters came out were like a delight. But I feel like my favorite game is probably Binding of Isaac, which is a horrible looking game, and it doesn't. Well, I mean, like Kim Reaper's a little spooky, but I love Binding of Isaac. Like the new expansions just come out, so we've been playing that, and it's been absolutely disgusting.
It is. It's so gross. It's really fun though.
I love it. And then I love I love Minecraft, and it's weird because I'm currently enjoying the 3rd volume of Minecraft, but I'm like, I really want to play Minecraft while I'm like coloring Minecraft. And then like, I've Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing, but I love Binding of Isaac. And lots of cute games, and then it's Binding of Isaac's my favorite. I think I've had to rank them.
No, I think the game you probably put the most hours into, like while we've been together, has been Binding of Isaac. 100%.
I've put a horrifying amount of that, and I haven't even 100% of it. It's
horrifying amount.
I've no buffer on games. I've just finished. Just finished Resident Evil 4 on Switch for the millionth time.
Yes.
But I also just downloaded an indie game called Calico, which is just about running a magical cake shop.
Yeah,
riding around with cats, and I absolutely love it. It's
that sounds great.
Adorable. It's just just dress your character up in whatever the hell you want and go around riding giant cats.
That sounds amazing.
That's all I need in the game sometimes.
Yeah. Resident Evil 4 was like my very first scary game that I ever played, and we got like this really cheap surround sound system at my university house when we moved like in, and I remember like there's at one point where there's like a very little prince boy. You know, the guy I'm talking about, a little prince boy with a weird Salazar. That's it.
Yeah,
and there's one point when Salazar he turns into something quite spooky at one point, let's say. And at the moment that was happening, I was sitting on the surround sound remote and I was turning like the subwoofer up, so it was like making the walls like shake. And I was like, "Whoa, games get really intense sometimes, huh?" But, I love that. That's like my favorite Resident Evil game.
It's a good one. I played it too much now. I kind of know, like, when Salazar sends one of his little henchmen to chase you, I know how to deal with him quickly. It's never a challenge. I still enjoy it, though. I still love... sometimes you can play a game and you kind of know the rhythm of the game and still enjoy it, So, Ricky's got a fantastic story about Resident Evil.
Oh, yeah.
So, when I was... like, Resident Evil 1...
Before you kids were born, probably.
Was, like, my first scary game. And but I didn't know it was scary because I had a copy that someone had given to me without a case or anything. Yeah, I had a chip PlayStation 1, and before it was even called a PlayStation 1, and I put it in, skipped all the cutscenes, so I didn't have a clue what it was about. And there's like 11-year-old me going down, and there's
thinking it was a comedy because Barry.
Yeah. Is this blood? And then you touch you press the X on him, and it's just him going like that. Just really
my
bad.
Glued together.
Yeah, and looking at the blood. Is this blood? And then you go into that first room. The door opens and it's creepy because it's Resident Evil. You go around the first corner, and there's one of the Bravo team on the floor with the first zombie that you meet, and you hear
the one this way.
Yep.
And it turns its neck really unnaturally, looks at you. I drop the controller, run downstairs, and make my father go upstairs and turn my PlayStation off.
Gosh, that's amazing.
Yep.
I love the idea that like the game just goes from like 0 to 100 for you in that moment.
Oh my gosh! And it's I don't know if have you ever seen do you recall the opening sequence to the first game? If you've ever played it, it's terrible. The helicopter flying away. Don't go.
Yeah.
Somebody, Sam, has mentioned Silent Hill. That one is I think that was probably the first. Must have been the first survival horror I played, and that still bugs me. I've got it on down there somewhere. I think down there, and there it is. And yeah, that one. I mean, Resident Evil is the Romero style zombie thing. It's scary but exciting. But Silent Hill is playing on the things that bug you. I recommend it highly.
Okay.
Have you played Silent Hill? I think that's one that I always missed out on that one.
I think I downloaded it on my PS Vita for like £2 or something, but it's like you see the graphics now and you're like, this is clearly isn't
Oh, yeah.
scary, but it's still like you go around a corner and there's a ghoul that jumps out at you, and I was like, I can't do this.
There's a bit in the second game that still makes me. It made me almost lose breath. You know, you have Pyramid Head, and you're in this boat house, and you're supposed to get across to this hotel, and there's a series of rooms, and there's a room that you go into, and there's no other exit other than the doorway you're in. And suddenly you go through the door, and you hear this god awful crashing noise, and you go back in there thinking, right, this is gonna be a fight. And Pyramid Head seems to have been in the room somehow and smashed through the wall, and there's a doorway there that wasn't there before. It's just this long, like Mario 64 long staircase. And as you go down there, there's a foghorn that gets louder, and it's very insistent, very slow, droning foghorn. And you're like this as you go down. You just keep running down this staircase.
Down and
it gets
down
louder
and
louder.
down and down.
It starts almost getting into your mouth. You know, it's like you can feel your fillings shake. You've got a headset on, and then you go to a door and it stops. And it's just like, nope, that's bad. Or you go to the toilet and you'll open all the cubicles up, and one will open up, and there's nothing in it. And you close the door, and suddenly there's this crashing noise inside of it, and you're like, I'm done. Playing this in the day from now on.
Yes.
I feel like whenever Awesome Games Done Quick happens, there's like the speedrunning event, and there's like the horror block, and it's like great because like I'm really interested in all these horror games, so I'm too scared to play them. So I'll watch someone play them really fast, and then I'll be like, "That's it. I've experienced this game now." Great.
We did that for Resident Evil 7 because we even owned that and started playing it at one point, and just I hated it. It made me feel really like queasy. It was really gross. It was like spooky, but it was gross spooky.
It is more body horror than it's been before.
Like just stuff getting cut here and in there, and
spoilers.
Yeah, sorry. But we watched someone speed run that as like part of this like live speed running event, and it's great because like they cut bits out because they're like, okay, and if I click through this wall here, it means that we get to skip a few cutscenes, and I'm like, yes, you're gonna get the story, but none of the gross.
I'm gonna be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
So like as you could tell from like that story and just in general, I have played horror games. I don't tend to anymore. I just prefer to play wholesome things like Pokemon and Mario these days.
That's a respectable opinion.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, everyone is now trying to get me to play. Like I did play a couple of rounds of Phasmophobia with Becky, who's in the stream, and they just dying to get me back on there. Dead by Daylight, they all just want me to
get in the spooky zone.
Yeah, so like, yeah,
Becky's
I just
saying
don't
Ricky
like
is
it.
going to stream Phasmophobia soon.
Yeah, if
The
I
hype is real.
gotta get a laptop, get a PC instead of using the laptop, and then I've promised that I'll play. Because she did gift me the game, because that's how much she wanted. That's how much she wanted me to play it. She gifted it to me, and I played it like twice, and they were being mean to me. They were shutting doors on me and stuff like that. And I went like, nope, I don't want to play. And then it crashed or something, and I was like, yeah, I just don't find that enjoyable anymore.
We've said this before a few times. It's important to the viewers that as lockdown eases, I'll be probably at first over Ricky so we can play games together. But I'm thinking about playing a game, so he's going to be in front of the screen, and I'll be behind him, and we'll play a game. Like I don't know if you've ever seen Welcome to Hanwell. That's a game that's reinvented. Not much scares me anymore. I look to be scared, but not much scares me because I kind of overanalyze things. And that game is a nope game. That game has really bugged me a lot because it's scary. It's a bit janky as well, but it's scary as well. And so I have every intention of making Ricky sit through that.
Oh, there was a game we saw. There was a game we watched a video of recently where it was like you're in like, it's similar to sort of Phasmophobia where you're in kind of like a spooky haunted house, but it was this whole thing where there's a demon that will, if the demon touches you, it turns you into a tiny little doll. And then the thing is that, like, as long as you don't all get turned into dolls, you can still play the game and complete the tasks you have to do in this weird spooky house. I don't remember what it was called.
Becky,
that's the worst part about
it.
It was called
Pacify.
Becky.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But it's really
I watched her playing that as I was playing Stardew Valley on my Switch, and she was playing that on the big TV. And I was like, nope.
That's how we used to watch X-Files. My family would watch X-Files, and I'd be like,
Oh,
it's not happening. The game I mentioned, Becky, was Welcome to Hanwell.
So yeah. So we usually do a few. Okay, so we've had a few questions from the chat. I gotta find them now because they were quite.
Yeah, I'm scrolling up
far
also.
back.
One question was from. Forgive me for butchering your name. Where was it? Oh, heck. Oh yeah, Mrs. Linja. When will there be another Donut the Destroyer comic? To the both of you.
In the future, we would love there to be. We haven't got one planned at the moment, but we kind of know where the story's going to go next. We just haven't got anything in our schedule for it at the moment. So somewhere down the line, because I think
Simmering somewhere away.
Yeah, it's kind of like bubbling away in the background, but we're working on like a few other things at the moment. So we're in this kind of zone where we can't kind of work on everything we want at the same time. So we're having to sort of like pick and choose a little bit. But one day there will be more. I think. I hope.
We'd like to do more. Yeah.
So yeah, we've got ideas bubbling away, but we're still in like the bubbling away stage. I think stuff's still simmering.
Cool.
I was doing lots of finger stuff there. Sorry.
It's fine. I'm very happy. One question my friend actually asked. He's watching the stream, but he doesn't have Twitch. Jamie, get Twitch. He's probably asked me if I'm naked as well because he always texts me while we're doing these things. He asked about Spider-Man. We totally forgot to actually ask. Is it going to be an ongoing? What's the story going to be about? Can you give anything away?
Oh yeah, so it's an ongoing for we've done 5 issues so far. It's an ongoing story about it's like Peter Parker but back at school. He's gone to a special like Oscorp kind of sponsored school in New York, and
I was
gonna say let's just say that there's some things happening behind the scenes that aren't your typical school fare, but it's kind of it's like a book about Peter kind of figuring out how to be Spider-Man and how to be a high schooler, and also how to what happens when those two might converge a bit.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So it's 5 issues at the moment, and then I think they're going to be collected together like way later in the year as well.
Cool.
And then the one from Kelzor86. What game have you enjoyed the most since streaming?
That's to us, I think.
Oh.
I know. I think that's because I asked questions for Stef and Sarah, and that's when she replied. So
well, we can answer, and then you can answer as well.
I think we did our first like Pokemon Nuzlocke on stream, and that was really fun. I think I had a good time doing that.
Yeah.
Stressful though, because it's like Nuzlocke. If your Pokemon dies, like they're gone, you can't use them anymore, and it became really heartbreaking the more we went on.
Which game?
We did Heart Gold.
Yeah.
Mainly because like I'd never played Gold all the way through before, so I was like, I want to see what happens.
I'm doing Sword. I actually had a whiteout.
Oh no.
Yeah, I had a whiteout on the 3rd gym. And then I was like, what do I do? It's technically over. And then the chat said, you've got a couple of Pokemon in the box, carry on with them, and if it happens again, it's game over. So I had like really rubbish Pokemon. I was so devastated. Like I lost what did I lose? Like my starter and everything in this gym, and then I was left with the 4 Pokemon I had left was a Dwebble, a Diggersby, what's the mole one called? Not a Diglett.
A Trio. That's the one I know.
I can think it's extra
Drillbur. Yeah, Drillbur.
Yeah.
And what was the last one I had? But yeah, so like I had 3 like rock or ground type, and it was like and it was like they were all like about 10 to 15 levels below where I was in the game, and I'd missed out on 2 captures in areas, so like it was like, how do I do this?
No.
And I luckily I managed to go. I had one area in the wild area that I didn't catch anything, so I went there and caught a Krabby, and I caught something else from one of the other areas. But oh yeah, it is devastating when you lose a Pokemon, though, isn't it?
Yeah. We managed to lose our starter 20 minutes into our first episode. So we made a canon, like our canonical kind of storytelling. We restarted the game, but we were like, our story was that we had to run back to Professor Elm and be like, we've accidentally murdered one of these Pokemon. Can we choose another? So we had to take a different one. So we called our first starter Cake 1. Our second starter was called Cake 2. And then we lost all of our team to the third, like you were saying there with the third gym, like we lost all of our first team to the third gym and then had to regroup, and we made a B team, and the B team was incredible. We had a Slowpoke with Fire Blast. We caught a Growlithe that was great because there's not many there aren't many fire Pokemon that you can catch in the world in that game. So we were like, yes, we've got fire Pokemon, great. And we made this really good team, and then we lost them all to like the following gym. And so we had to make a C team. And then the C team took us all the way to the end, which was great, but it was heartbreaking losing. The B team was the worst because it was just like
there were so many good Pokemon. We were like so close to getting a Nidoqueen.
We were convinced that they were like the team that was going to take us all the way through. And we were like, yes, like we lost the A team and that sucked, but like the B team is the one. And then very quickly they all got wiped out to a Gengar, just one Gengar. One Gengar just chewed them all up.
It is one of those it's one of those weird things that like Adam doesn't like Pokemon and he doesn't like
No, I do like Pokemon. I like the alternative games. I like Mystery Dungeon. I like
Ranger.
Pokemon Ranger. I even like Pikachu's Wonder Park.
Nice.
But yeah, so like I was doing it and then it was like, oh no, and I'm letting people pick my names on the stream. And if no one's around, I just end up giving them wrestler's name.
Yeah, awesome.
So like I had Charlotte, the Slowpoke. And she died to the fire gym.
Oh no.
But yeah, and it was like it didn't make any sense. The team I took in shouldn't have been able to be wiped out as easily to a fire type. So then I ended up with Dwayne the Dwebble.
Nice. I like that because like the Rock.
Yeah, that's why I went with Dwayne. But yeah, so Pokemon is the one that you enjoyed the most, is it?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it was the first big. It was like the first big like continuous thing that we were doing. I think on stream. So,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was fun. Just because I think it made Pokemon like way more stressful than it's ever been before for us. So it was like a whole new experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was good. I have really enjoyed watching you play Zelda recently, though. That was really cool.
I really enjoyed Zelda as well because like, I don't know how I've got to 29 and not really played any Zelda. So I played my first Zelda on stream and it was great because I kept meaning to play it, and like then it was like we're streaming it and it's like I am playing it, I'm doing it now. And it's such a charming game. It's so
really good.
They've got They got Link to the Past on the virtual Nintendo SNES collection as well, and Link to the Past is just one of the best games ever. That's genuinely worth a look into. Going back to Pokemon, Kelly's actually asked as well, what's your favorite starter Pokemon is?
Starter Pokemon? Ooh. That's hard.
I'd have to say Squirtle because it was my very first starter back in the days, and I still maintain that Blastoise is like one of the coolest third like level evolution things. So yeah,
Blastoise is better than Charizard.
I agree. I'm like Charizard is fine, but like Blastoise has like it's a turtle with big like cannons coming out of its shell. Like what's not to love there? Like yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say Charmander, but sorry. I think Cyndaquil's really cute as well.
Charmander's cool.
Evolution's cool.
Charizard's just a big old emo dragon is all. So
just a dragon.
I mean, maybe that's why that appeals to me. I'm like, cool, and a big emo dragon.
It's like here we drew a dragon. That's it. Turtle
but
with
he's not
cannons.
a dragon.
No, just flying and fire. Yeah.
My favorite was it's probably like even though Gen 1 was when I was most into it, I guess. But my favorite starters would be between Chimchar and the one that the final evolution, Greninja. So
Froakie.
Yeah. Because I
Nice.
tend to like the water types more.
Yeah. I feel like water's always like a nice like underdog type to root for.
You're
It's
always
pretty
going to need one
powerful.
on
I
your
feel like it's
team.
the most powerful.
Yeah, but they always like start off like it's like you start
Oh,
with a
they start as
sobble
a
and then you end up as
baby.
like kind of like an intense like water sniper thing or something. You
Yeah,
know?
that's fair. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He goes from just spitting water at his mouth to having out shoulder-mounted cannons.
Yeah.
I when my brother was really small, he got a Game Boy Color and he had Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon Red, and so I had to play them for him. And I liked them. I did like them, but I wouldn't scrimp on. It wasn't me just playing them and just going, "I got your Pokemon to here." I'd show him whenever I could what I was doing, and I liked it. I was playing the game as well, but I think that's probably why then when he started playing the other games, I was like, "This is basically the same game, but in color."
Oh.
Now
yeah.
this is the same game, but you can see reflections. So I kind of, when I started finding out there were other types of Pokemon game, I was like, "Yeah, I'll play those instead."
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
We
I
could
definitely
have-
have- I've had those moments before for sure.
yeah, we all have, but I still like them.
I think if
I did
anything,
say, though,
Pokemon
that-
Sword and Shield kind of refreshed it a little bit. So I was kind of
Yeah.
like, I think Sword and Shield made it just different enough for it to kind of become like fresh again. I think so.
I think with Let's Go breaking the mold too much, I think people were kind of pleased to go back to Sword and Shield and to the
yeah.
classic gameplay.
So, Mrs. Linger again wants to know if comic writing is your full-time job, and if you can live off it. I'm guessing if it is, it's obvious you can live off it.
It's a weird one. I'd say it's part of what we do. I don't think we could, because we do like so many like different things. I don't think we could live off any just one of them. Like I think it's because we do like about
Yeah.
4 or 5 different things every at the same time. Like
We
that's the only
usually,
way.
I feel like we usually work on like multiple projects at the same time as well. So
Mm.
like when we're writing Spider-Man and I was drawing Minecraft at the same time, and then we also always doing like our super adventure in the background,
Yeah.
and then we have like we do our shop and we have our Comic Cons and there's Patreon and
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's like a big combination of like loads of things really.
yeah.
But yeah, we might be able. Maybe if we were just writing comics, we might. I don't know. If we lived off beans, maybe.
Yeah, like
we
we
could
just
say
say
beans.
beans.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just
I could get into beans in a
I
big
like
way.
beans.
That's,
But yeah, it's I think comics is one of those things that it's not amazingly well paid sometimes. It'd be lovely if it was. Like I kind of long for the days of like going back to sort of Sonic the Comic from before. Like I feel like there's not that many accessible comics in a newsagents nowadays. Like I think stuff like even with like obviously like you saw the Dandy kind of like disappeared like a while ago. The Beano sort of is still there to some extent, but I feel like that's all there is now really. Like you get the Phoenix and some really good. Like if your newsagents is incredible, you'll get the Phoenix. But like other than that, it's like there's nothing like Sonic the Comic anymore, as far as I know. Like there's nothing where it's just like an episodic kind of. I feel like I got really invested in Sonic the Comic as a kid, and I don't see anything on the shelves.
No,
like,
you're right.
That's that accessible.
it's
Like, and I guess
plastic
that's where
bags as
webcomics comes
well.
in, maybe.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
we were talking about this with Kev from Darkstar. How me and Ricky are a little bit older than you two. Not much. But yeah, like I lived in a small little village, and you'd go to the local newsagents. Would be comic books at kid height. And yeah, there'd be things like X-Men and the DC comics and Bart Simpson comics and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Quite often. Never Sonic though, strange enough. I
No,
remember
I-
Sonic coming on TV for the first time when it was like my 7th birthday, and that was fantastic.
Yes.
like for me, comics were. I never remember Sonic the comic, but it was. My gran used to give them to me, and I'd have them. She used to get them off some kids she babysat, and it'd be every so often a black bag of comics, and it'd be the Dandy, the Beano, Whizzer, Topper, and Buster, and all of these comics, and I'd sort them to make sure I read like all the ones I didn't like first, and then work my way up to the Beano, and then be disappointed when the Beano pile was all gone. But
Oh,
And that's how we read our comic books now.
yeah. someone's asking, can you make a third middle grade novel for graphics?
It's called Lucy the Pizza Delivery Girl. It's about Lucy talking bike and two friends at school.
It sounds neat. And we're working on something else at the moment, so I don't think we're going to be. I don't think we've got another book coming out for graphics in the near future, but we're working on something else secret in the background. So
Yes. But
Yeah.
I'm very
This
excited
space.
about it.
it's one of those things we're not allowed to talk about yet. But I'm sure you'll see us yelling about it when we're allowed to yell about it.
Oh yeah, well, as soon as we can, like.
It's also really fun because like we're always like at the moment we've been doing a lot of like licensed stuff. So obviously like writing Spider-Man, that's obviously like belongs to Mr. Spider-Man and that
Mr. Spider-Man.
you know, Marvel, Mr. Spider-Man. Like Minecraft is obviously like a licensed thing as well. And then
Yep.
it's kind of like it's weird because like this time last year we were talking a lot about Donut because that was like our newest book that had just come out. So we're still working like on our own original stuff in the background. It's just that we're not allowed to talk about anything yet because it's still like kind of going through things.
Yeah.
But when we're allowed to talk about those things, we'll talk
We
about
will.
them.
Oh man, we'll talk about them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And let us know and we will promote them on our
We'll
socials
talk about them.
as
Thank
well.
you.
And then I'm aware of how long we've actually been going, so just before we
Oh no,
finish.
sorry.
Oh no,
No,
it's
no,
fine.
no.
We're happy to go
We're
as
happy
long
to
as
go
you
as
are,
long as we
but
need to.
we don't want to hold you up too long. But Adam normally has some fun questions for us to go out on.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've got a couple this time. There's one that we normally do, but there's one I want to ask very well as quickly as you want to, as long as you want to. Tell us about Sonic the Comic, the band.
Okay.
Rachel
So,
said about this. Rachel Smith said about this. So
yeah, like we when we first got together, like I used to do music stuff on my own, and then we kind of started like just playing like cutesy stuff together, like
Oh, it
playing
is
like on like ukulele and xylophone and stuff like that.
very twee.
And then we started making some stuff that was like a little bit more kind of like rocky with some kind of like video game sort of like noises in it and stuff.
Yep.
And then it kind of became like a band for a bit, which was really
Yeah.
neat. And then it kind of became something that where we played like a bunch of gigs and stuff, and we played like a little festival called Indie Tracks in Derbyshire that was kind of like it was already like one of our favorite festivals, so getting to play there was kind of like a pinnacle of like where we
Yeah.
wanted to get to
We
as a
made it.
band. But yeah, we got to play like a bunch of gigs and we put out a couple of albums, and they're all still like on there, like on the internet. But like us, because we had like this kind of like shared interest of like, oh, like we both got into comics through Sonic the Comic. It kind of felt like that's the name of the band kind of thing.
We probably
yeah.
should have called it something more Googleable.
I think it's pretty Googleable. If you say
Yeah,
Sonic the Comic, the band,
band.
yeah,
Yeah.
just gotta put in the band a bit. And then I think at one point I bought a
Publish
website,
comics.
sonicthecomictheband.com, and then I think I didn't renew the website, and someone snapped it up, and for about 3 years they were trying to like sell it for like £300 or something, and I was like, I don't care about it enough to buy the web address back. But then one day I was just like looking at it, and it was like it was just a free domain again. I was like snapped it back up. So I think we still got sonicthecomictheband.com running, so that's still there.
possibly watch that space as well.
Yeah, like I think we always like I'm always like thinking about doing more stuff like on our Twitch streams, like all the background music we have is stuff that I've made like over the years, like just instrumentally. So yeah,
It's really
eventually
good.
we'll make music again. I feel like I think my whole thing was that a lot of my music, a lot of my like lyrical ideas were about me being really sad about the job that I was working in. Because while there was like the really good side was like working in a library and getting to talk to kids about comics and stuff, there was also like a lot of other bad stuff, like all of the staff that they were like this. I had to like wear a lot of hats in that job, and they weren't all enjoyable hats. I guess I was always getting roped in to do different bits and
Yeah, they
pieces and
weren't
stuff. So
supposed to be your hats either, but they
No.
got put on you.
and I was constantly like having to fight for my job and stuff. Like I'd have the head teacher being like, "Oh, we can't afford to have a full-time librarian," and I'd be there like sighing loudly, going, "I'm not just like a librarian. I do the school website. I do all of like the programs. I do all your design stuff, the TV screens around the school. Like, who do you think does all that stuff?" It was like a constant thing. So a lot of the music we were making was very much me being angsty about stuff
It's
like
really
that.
happy sounding music though.
I guess so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's how you work that stuff out. Like
Yeah.
when like we first started in SCC, I was working in a shop and I wasn't particularly loving that job, and a lot of what I wrote was comedy. So, and it was just making fun of, shops and customers and So it comes out in that sort of way normally, I think.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Well, maybe we'll see a resurgence of songs. Resurgence? A return of Sonic the Comic the band.
Maybe. I'm worried that it'll just turn it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to be angry about nowadays, but I feel like, I don't know. Like I don't know if it's like needed to be. I want to find different, nicer things to write about. I think so. That's the dream.
You should definitely do more of your instrumental stuff. Like that's called Tiny Spells. It's on Spotify and we play it on our streams. It's pretty good. I really love your music. Stef is the more musical one. I'm there also in the band, but
one time we
kind of the brains.
One time we were playing a show and then we got like a rock band guitar kind of thing, and I managed to hook that up to my laptop so it would actually play like the right sort of sounds for the songs. And I'd kind of taught Sarah how to play it, and we had like this whole sheet where it was all like all the notes for the different songs to remember how to play. And I don't know how, but Sarah managed to like
dropped it through the floor.
There was like a little gap on the stage, like there was a gap in like the wooden planks, and Sarah dropped this piece of paper and it just disappeared forever. And so I don't even remember what happened then.
I just panicked.
It was I don't even remember. I don't know what happened.
I think like for a really short playing like a rock band guitar that you and then I think it just switched back to vocals.
I think that sounds about right. That.
Too much responsibility.
It was fun. One time we did a gig in London and we only got paid like a packet of mince pies.
Oh, that's yeah.
And that was really weird because we kind of like left the gig with this packet of mince pies and we're like, I'm sure we were meant to get petrol money or something.
Yeah.
But we were too shy to ask or anything, so we were just like driving home with this little packet of mince pies, like yay. Oh, it was fun. We'll do music again eventually.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, thank you for the question.
I think that was you're welcome. I think the first paycheck I got from doing like when we were in the comics group was a beer on the train home, a can of beers. We'd made like a small amount of money and we're like, treat yourself, and we're just sitting on the train just drinking beers.
Yeah.
So that was quite nice.
Best beer I've ever had.
Yeah. The question I normally pose people is the versus question.
Ooh, okay.
And it's normally just plucked from like the ether or I try and keep it relevant, but this one's probably the most relevant, probably the most heart-rending as well. Usually it's one person versus another, but it's a four-way battle.
No, I know what you're going to say already. Yeah, no. Oh.
Wilson versus Pesto versus Pixel versus Toby. Who would win?
Okay, wait, win how?
Like in a fight?
In a fight?
Yeah,
like a big four-way cat
like,
fight?
The
fatal four-way, as it were.
Yeah.
The cat dynamic makes
four-way.
zero sense in our house.
Can we make it like an elimination match?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so I think the first... I'll say who I think would go the order that I think. I think first out would be Toby because Toby's like too cool for it. Toby doesn't need the victory. She's out of here. She's gone upstairs.
Before we go any further, I should just let people know these aren't people; they're cats.
Oh
yeah.
It's imaginary. For the people who don't know, we're not talking about like their children. The kids are in the other room. They'd be
so
told
Toby's
to be quiet.
your Orange Cassidy, is it?
Ooh, I'm just
There we go. We've got.
There we go.
There we go. That's
we
Pixel.
have multiple cameras. Okay, Pixel would go out next, I think, because Pixel's just very big and soft. I don't think he's a fighter. I think Pesto and Wilson would go to the bloody end, but I think Wilson would come out on top because he's all muscles, and I think he's like Pesto would just get tired and she'd just jump over the top rope and run away, and hissing the whole time. She'd be like, kind of like, I'll get you next time, kind of thing. But I think Wilson would just win by proxy.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Wilson wouldn't even be trying to win. He'd just be trying to get. He just wants to hug the other cats. He just loves them.
He just wants to sometimes he'll sit on top of them if they're sleeping and they don't know he's coming, and that never ends well. But he means well.
What about you? What do you think? How do you think the fight would go? The cats.
I've seen Pickle fight.
Oh, yeah.
Pickle fights Wilson. He's scared of Toby. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
We don't have you'd expect there to be like a cat hierarchy where there's one cat above the rest of them or something. But we've kind of got like a weird cycle where Toby's kind of above most of them, but then she'll get into clashes with Pixel. But then Pesto kind of is underneath. Pesto doesn't like Wilson. Will run away from him, but then Pesto will scare off Toby. So there's a kind of like a weird.
I feel like
They're all.
the most
They like
important thing to
Pokemon
know
starters.
Yeah. It's like rock, paper, scissors, and an extra one.
Pixel and Toby are friends, and that's like the important thing.
Well, they're friends until until Pixel jumps on Toby in the night.
Yeah,
because that happened a
that's
couple
like
nights ago.
the deal breaker. But like usually, like we'll walk in a room and they'll just be chilling together, and it's quite nice. But everyone else is like, "I'll cut you."
Look at Pickle right now. Like butter wouldn't melt. Like butter wouldn't melt.
Sam is loving the cat on the stream, and probably a lot of cat talk as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping this this pleases a bunch of people. So the hierarchy in my house is I only have one cat, but and my daughter, but my cat pretends that my daughter doesn't exist to the point where if I'm like, if my daughter's here, and she likes being, she doesn't hiss her, well, she does hiss and spit at her sometimes, but she acknowledges she exists, but it's the fight for my love, I guess. Say for my daughter sitting here, and I'm waving at the cat, and the cat's looking at me because she wants something. I'll go, look over here, and she'll stop looking just before my hand gets over my daughter. She'll follow my hand and then stop, and I'll be like, look over here, and she's just like, nope. And I try putting her on my daughter, and she'll stretch herself out over her.
Yeah.
So, and my daughter loves cats.
I reckon just wait. I think one day something will click, and then you'll be the one trying to get the attention from the cat again. The cat will be like, no, I found a new friend now.
I'm kind of hoping. It's been a while. She's like, it's been like 17 years nearly, and the cat's like, well, no, I don't know. The cat's like 9, so 9 years, and she's like, cat still doesn't love me. She doesn't hate. She loves cats. She doesn't even. She loves my cat, but my cat hates her. So weird.
Cats are very mysterious.
Yes, they're very
jerky.
they move in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
So
that was a tough question. I wasn't expecting that 4-way challenge. That's nice.
No, but as soon as he said 4-way, you knew where it was going.
The cogs started turning. I was like, no.
So yeah, I did mention on all the tweets and everything that we would talk wrestling, because that's what we normally do when we see
I was
each other
hoping I
at
might
cons.
segue into wrestling as well.
That's what we usually do at cons when we see each other. And like,
yes,
I think it was the last con I was at. Was it Thought Bubble where you actually left one of the nights and went and watched the wrestling and then came back?
It was the night we set up. So we'd gone to set up on the Friday, and then they were taping like Raw and SmackDown at the same time in Manchester. And for some reason I thought, oh yeah, that'll only be like a 20-minute drive or something, but it ended up being like about an hour and a half to get there or something. But yeah, that was wild. And to think of what happened now in the following year, I'm very glad that we went to that, because I don't think and there's been a lot of talk about like WWE, like even when stuff starts opening up again, I think they're going to be like pulling back on like the house show sort of side of things as well. So I feel like we got lucky seeing that. It was a very weird show. At one point, there was the whole entrance ramp sort of filled with smoke and steam and stuff, and I think it was like way too much, because like we saw Ricochet do like a little backflip for it, and then he was kind of like trying to wave the smoke away. It was really good. But yeah, no, it was really cool. And then we zipped back up to Harrogate for Thought Bubble the next day, and it was yeah,
completely clear-headed, wide awake.
But,
yeah, just like wrestling.
Because like you can just about see them, I think, but like my Hasbros from when I was a kid are on a shelf behind me, but there.
Nice.
The second shelf down, so the one you can see the Hulks above them, and then I think you can see Mr. Perfect's yellow singlet. But yeah, you're looking forward to WrestleMania?
I am. I'm looking forward. I love that. So like I'd say like Kevin Owens is probably one of my favorite wrestlers at the moment.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that there's like a Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn match like on the main card of WrestleMania just fills me with like a lot of joy, because that only just came into being in like the last few weeks as well. So I think that they're just both very good. They've got like a really long weird history together, and like I don't know, Kevin Owens is great, and he was a really good bad guy, but now he's like a fine good guy as well, which I'm kind of like I'm into. I feel like I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
excited.
Yeah, I was just a bit disappointed that they broke up the Hurt Business, but
that doesn't make any sense to me, especially because WrestleMania was like right around the corner too. So unless there's going to be some kind of weirdness, like, where, I mean, there's obviously got to be some weirdness. It's wrestling, but
yeah.
it does also sound like a lot of behind the scenesy stuff. No one's really happy that happened, and it was like the one good thing Raw had going for it for like pretty much the last like half a year almost. Like it's crazy.
We've
yeah.
upset the chat now as well. Asthmatical can hear
no.
you talk about wrestling, Ricky.
I'm
loud
not
are you?
talking wrestling with him.
But Sam is unhappy that we've disrupted the cat chat.
Oh, sorry. Cats are really good though. Sometimes cats and wrestling crossover.
Sometimes I wrestle.
Ernest the
Especially
Cat
if you
Miller.
Cats wrestle like wrestlers wrestle. No, I love wrestling so much. I got really into it. I got really back into it back around when Daniel Bryan was like having his like WrestleMania kind of run, and like I don't know. It's just like the weirdest, coolest storytelling thing. Like it just I don't know what it is about it. It just I love it. I just love watching it unfold. It's just such a
People refer to it as redneck anime.
I was just about to say
I hear
that.
that. That sounds great.
Yeah, and that's why I
It
like
is.
it.
It's just anime for a Western audience.
Yep.
It's ridiculous, but I love it.
It's like when it's good, it's just so good. Like, and it can be really bad though. Like, I mean, there was definitely a point in time where like I was like really just turned off of watching a lot of like a lot of Monday Night Raw got like really boring to me. But like SmackDown was still like intensely like great. So I was still watching that. I was watching NXT, and sometimes like some of the stories that are getting told, like there was back in NXT they had a lot of matches between Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano,
Yeah.
and like that was just like they were like one up in like each match they had together was like even like more extreme than the next, and I was just like, this is so rewarding in such a weird way, like because it's just the fact that it's been done live as well. Just it's just this weird kind of live theatrical storytelling that. I don't know where else you find something quite like that.
No.
Unless you like go to like the theater every week and they're doing like an ongoing story. Like it's unreal.
Throwing each
like,
other through the props and stages and stuff.
yeah, like you go to regular theater and they're just pretending. I mean, arguably like the wrestling is like somewhat pretending, but it's like there's only so much you can't really pretend to do a backflip. You still have to do a backflip, you know? Like
And for anyone who
Yeah.
says wrestling is fake, it is predetermined. But anyone who's saying wrestling is
Yeah.
fake, go and watch. It happened during lockdown. NXT UK, Volta versus Dragunov. Oh my god!
Yes. Any match with Volta in is just insane. Like there was the match he had with Tyler Bate that was just like amazing. Like yeah, it's so good. I think he's fighting Tommaso Ciampa at the
Can't
NXT
wait.
pay per view this weekend. Like yeah. It's gonna be good. I'm excited. Lots of good wrestling this week.
Yeah, I was just going to say actually that a bunch of the crew, a bunch of the chat is saying about the last time they've seen wrestling was around around Rock and Stone Cold were in it. But
yeah.
Becky said the last time she watched wrestling was with Hulk Hogan. I used to watch. I used to have this thing on Channel 4 over in Wales. It was S4C, and it was called Trans World Sport, and it was on like stupid time in the morning. You probably remember.
I used to wake up really early and watch that because there was like nothing else on. So like
and it would show wrestling and stuff as well, and they also used to watch. Used to put on sumo wrestling, and I'm not a fan of wrestling, but I used to like Hulk Hogan. I liked all of the big characters.
Used to being the big thing with that name.
But then I would watch things like sumo wrestling, and I was like, I'm going to watch this instead. This is crazy. These guys shouldn't be able to stand up on their own, but they're throwing each other around. So wrestling wasn't as big a part for me. But
throwing some Tyler Bate love into the chat at the moment. He wants you to chat, big strong boy Adam.
Big strong boy.
Are you as into wrestling, Sarah, or are you just supporting Steph?
Watching it live was really fun. Like we went to this like in Bourneville. They had like those smaller really indie shows were really fun to watch live.
Yeah, we went it was like an indie promotion in Birmingham called Kamikaze Pro.
Yeah, that was cool. I like the updates you gave me talking about the alien wrestler that came out of the Gatchapon machine.
Wait,
pretty cool.
Are you into AEW at all?
Yeah, I watch bits of it. I watch more on catch up on YouTube and stuff rather than watching the shows. But
have you seen anything? Did you see the arcade match that Miro was in?
Yeah, clips of it. Yeah,
yeah, like the bit because they're like best friends of this like really fun team where like their whole big thing is they just have a big hug in the ring, and like they're pals with Orange Cassidy, who's like a really cool wrestler who wears shades and he just wrestles with his hands in his pockets, but he's actually a really good wrestler when he tries.
Adam actually knows who he is because of Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah,
Oh my god,
yeah.
amazing.
There's a character that walked around with his hands in his pockets and he only kicks, and Ricky kept referring to him as
Yes.
Orange Cassidy.
Yeah. But like, yeah, he's great. And like, one of best friends was out with an injury. Orange Cassidy's like alien friend. I've forgotten the name now.
Oh, I just know her.
Oh.
You just said
She's like an alien. Like, her thing is Chris
yeah.
Statlander. She's an alien, and like she came back. Like both her and Trent returned at the same time during this match, and she made her return from like popping out of like a claw machine and just throwing the glass at this other female wrestler, and it was like.
It's pretty good.
It was just it was like one of my favorite wrestling returns I've ever seen ever. Because
You
how
said
many times do
Gatcher and you
you
had
ever
my attention then, so it
how
didn't
many
matter what
times
was
do you
going
ever
to
see
come
someone pop out of a machine? Like, oh, it was just so good.
I know.
love wrestling was the
one time.
goofiest thing in the world, and I love it.
I know, and like some of that stuff, like Orange Cassidy, is ridiculous. That like the people would just stand there when he's doing all the shin kicks and stuff. Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's fantastic.
There was this one incredible Orange Cassidy. I think the moment that made Orange Cassidy in AEW was they were doing like some promo before one of his bigger matches that he was gonna have, and his like one of best friends oh man, he's got the name's gone from my head now. I think it's Chuck. He said something like this time he's gonna try, and like that was it. It was just like it just summed up this character. It was like he's kind of just there and he's like I don't care about this match. But it's like no, this time he's gonna try. He's actually gonna try and win this match. And it was like I don't know. He's such a weird he's such a weird character. I love it. There's nothing like wrestling. There's so much like there's so much like bad stuff in wrestling, but there's also some amazing stuff. It's like such a weird smorgasbord. It's amazing. It's the best and the worst, but mainly the best, I think.
I am really aware of how long we've kept you now, and thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
where
thank you.
can everyone find you?
Like, what's your house number?
www.sarahgraley.com is probably the best hub of everything, I think.
Yeah.
And then we're here on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/oursuperinadventure.
Yeah.
And then if you plonk any of those things into Google as well,
they'll come up.
They'll send you on a treasure trail of delights and comics and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Marvel Action Spider-Man issue 1 is out in comic shops now. Woo.
Yeah.
I will actually put it on my poll.
And that's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
As I said earlier, we announced 24-hour stream on the 1st and 2nd of May for the Comic-Con this year. We'll be putting up more about that. You could follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. We'll just find SCGC or Swansea Comic and Gaming Convention.
Ricky's house.
And you'll find us. Yeah, on my house, Adam's flat.
No, nobody knows where I live.
We will be back on Twitch on Wednesday as well for hobby stream. I'm gonna actually try and clear some of my pile of shame and build some stuff, and Simon's gonna be painting some Elder Scrolls figures, I think. Or his squat tank thing. And then Friday is group game, which we haven't set a group game for this week yet, so let us know what you want to see us play. But until then, thank you very much. Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.